Going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope you're all doing well. Throwing some baseball scores already. We already have a mic request on my Twitter space. It's Jules, so we're gonna invite them on right now. But for now, let's start with some scores. Cardinals beat the Pirates 6-4. Okay, that both teams suck. Cubs beat the Tigers 6-4. Cubs. It's crazy to think that a month ago they weren't even in the race. And Jules, can you hear me?
Yeah, Jake.
How's it going, man? What's up?
I'm doing pretty good, man. How about you?
Not bad, not bad. Just another day, another show. What do you want to talk about this? Not morning, this afternoon. 12:21 now.
Um, Honestly, I just joined to just talk and listen to what everyone's saying, but I don't know. Like, are you into football or not really?
Oh, absolutely. I need football back. I miss it. I miss football. I need a regular season to start. I'm getting anxious.
Yeah, I'm definitely very. Like, I'm in the same boat. I'm also very frustrated right now because I'm a Niners fan and it's very, very toxic right now.
Yeah, I heard they named Darnold the number 2 quarterback and Lance is the third string. So what's your take on that whole thing?
See, that's the big thing. It's very. Listen, everyone knew Purdy was going to get started. That was
Right.
pretty much
Yeah.
like, there was no debate there. But I think a lot of Niners fans, including myself, were very frustrated because throughout camp and the preseason, there's nothing that really separated Lance and Darnold, and we don't understand why Darnold was named QB2.
Yeah, to me, it's a big concern because the 49ers give up 3 first-round picks to get this guy. And so he's been in the league, what, his third year, his fourth year, and he's not even better than Sam Darnold. Like, he's a third-string quarterback after 3 years. You up for 3 first-round picks? Like, something is wrong.
100%. It's also, listen, it depends. Listen, everyone's got their own agenda, right?
Right.
Everyone sees their team in a certain way. I think everyone is at fault. I think the organization's at fault. I think Lance is at fault. I think Kyle Shanahan's at fault. I think everyone has blame because at the end of the day, this is not to be too hot takey. I think it's probably, if it's not our worst draft, if it's not our worst trade ever, it's our second worst.
Probably.
It's up there. It's up there. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I've only been a Niners fan probably since what, late 2000s, because I'm pretty young, right? Compared to like the average Niners fan. So I can't speak for anything that happened like the 90s, but or even the early 2000s with Jeff Garcia, right? But I mean, this has been as bad as you can get, right?
Yeah, and like it just, I mean, when he was coming out, I thought, okay, he clearly he's got a big arm. He can make plays with his legs. My issue with him coming out was, first of all, he was really raw coming out. He only played 1 game his last year because of the whole COVID. The conference like canceled the season because of the pandemic, so he only played the 1 game. And in that 1 game, he didn't look fantastic. Though the year before, his numbers were off the charts. My second issue with him, he was never really accurate, and that's something you can work on. I mean, look at Josh Allen. Josh Allen was as inaccurate as he gets his first 2 years, and now he's much, much better. So that's something you can work on, but he was very erratic. And, like, to me, in Shanahan's offense with those pieces and the lack of progress he's had, I mean, I haven't watched them as much as you have, obviously, but so I know you said, you think it's, kind of part the organization, it's part Lance and part Shanahan, so you think it's kind of just an overall group failure. But yeah, that's a major disappointment for a kid who had a lot of talent coming out of North Dakota State to not even be a third-string quarterback in year 3.
In my opinion, I don't know. Obviously, the organization has their own thoughts on what happened, but what happened is Jimmy Garoppolo kept on getting hurt, right?
Right.
And I think they also viewed him, even though I think. Listen, I'm not going to come out here and say I think Jimmy's this great quarterback. But I thought at a lot of times he's a good quarterback.
Yeah.
He actually did everything. He made really good throws. He wasn't a big ball, but everyone that's how he is. That's who he is. But the main problem is we wanted to move off of him because we couldn't. He wasn't available. He was hurt, And we also thought that a guy like Lance would take us. We were hoping he would take us on another level, like because we thought that the ceiling was way higher than Jimmy.
Oh
And
yeah.
now the problem is now we're kind of, in my opinion, no, not taking anything away from Purdy. It feels like we're kind of back to square one, where we had, of course, he went 7-1. We had an incredible run, but there's a reason he was Mr. Irrelevant. Like it's not like he didn't have a big injury in college that like knocked him down the draft.
No,
he wasn't good.
Yeah, he wasn't as good as the other guys. Yeah, he just wasn't as good.
Like it was, in my opinion, like it was super monster, and it's like but it doesn't sit well, right?
Yeah, and like, look, I'm a Jet fan. I watched Darnold in New York. He had really bad teams, but he also didn't play well, and he was a little bit better in Carolina last year, but there was still nothing that made me go, "Oh yeah, that guy should be a starter." So the fact that he's ahead of Lance on the depth chart as the backup, I mean, I didn't love what I saw from Lance in the preseason. He looked, his numbers didn't look bad, but he also, I from the highlights I've seen, I've seen him miss a couple of throws. But yeah, that's definitely, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets traded now because at this point, I mean, if they're rolling with Purdy, obviously Purdy's only in his second year in the league. Like like you said, he was Mr. Relevant for a reason. I like what I saw from him, and in this offense, it's hard to be bad in this offense because they got they got weapons up their backside. I don't know what to do with. They got all pros all over the roster. But yeah, the fact that he's a third string quarterback now is not a good look.
Yeah, and I expect that. And there's rumors too. Who knows what's true right now? Because like I said, like right now it's even an iron is very toxic, right? Because even unfortunately, I don't know what your plans are tomorrow night, but Santoro is going to get booed so bad. Like I'm not gonna, and it's unfortunate because like you're shooting the wrong person. Like
right,
don't shoot the message. Like I feel bad for him. He's going to get booed, but it's not. It's the team's fault. They're the one who named him like QB2, and yeah, it's going to be an interesting season, but we'll see what happens. Wait, sorry, you said you're a Jets fan, right?
Yep.
Man, Will McDonald, man. I think he could be really good, man.
Yeah, it's weird because like when the Jets drafted him, I didn't know a lot about him, so I was a little not a little bummed. I was like, there was I thought there was bigger names out there, but then I started looking into him. Like, I saw him like jump over a car. I was like, whoa, this kid's athletic, and everything I'm hearing about him at a camp is that the kid's incredible. Saba loves him, and yeah, I'm pretty excited for the Jets. Yeah, he looks like he could be pretty good. They got a very deep front seven, so you won't have to like. There's not a lot of pressure on him because they got so many guys. As you know, because Robert Sala used to coach for you guys, he loves to rotate. He loves his deep front. He loves his deep fronts. He rotates guys in and out almost every play. So yeah, I'm very excited for the Jets, and Will McDonald I think could be a very good player.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you guys are just losing depth at that position.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, when like he's going to be a possible potential player of the year candidate this year, and even some of your depth guys, like even a guy like Bryce Huff,
yeah,
so underrated.
Good player.
Like you guys have so many guys.
Yeah, they're very very deep, and if you're Niners, I mean, if Purdy goes out and does what we did last year, I think they could be in the Super Bowl. The roster outside the quarterback is absolutely there. The only small weakness is maybe the offensive line. I don't think it's fantastic. I know they lost the right tackle, Mike McGlinchey. I'm not sure if they brought in anybody to replace him. That was notable. But you still got who?
Sorry, yeah, we drafted Colton McKivitz. This is his third. I think it's going to be his third season. I think he was in the
okay.
draft as well. Yeah.
All right, so you have a kid there that's gonna get a shot, but I mean, also on the other side, you have Trent Williams, who is a dog. Love Trent Williams, probably the best lineman in the league.
Yeah, for sure. Like Trent is that's the thing. Like I agree with you, Gabe. Like our offensive line, it's not pretty, but I mean when you have Trent, it just it puts it's like you put a little bit of makeup on, you look a little bit
Yeah.
better, right?
Right. Yeah.
Also, I'm concerned about our right side corner. Right now it's
Mhm.
Demondre Lenore. And I mean he's made some progress, but I mean I'm worried about that. And then even our defensive line depth, it's actually probably the weakest it's been in a while. Like obviously, I mean we got Hargrave in now, we got Armstead, we got Bosa, and then we're gonna have I think the start is gonna be Drake Jackson, depends
Uh-huh.
on what packages we run, but it's still gonna be good. But like outside of those guys, the depth really this is the first year it's really gonna drop off. So I'm a little bit curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Harder, Eric Armstead, Nick Bosa on one D line is ferocious, but like you said, the depth isn't there. There's a couple of guys that had last year that left. You know better than I do who they were, but yeah, I remember they lost. There's a couple of guys who contributed as like rotational guys that aren't there anymore.
Yeah, Samson,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and for my Jets, the one area I don't love is the offensive line. They people have been knocking the O line a lot. I think it's a little overblown because I really think people are overthinking it because just have a lot of guys there that are pretty good. But I don't. I just think because there's obviously with Mekhi Becton, he's got to stay healthy. I know he's good, but he's played one game in 2 years. He's healthy so far. Knock on wood. He's looked really good in preseason. Again, I know the guy's good. I just need to see him on the field. And their offensive line their tackle should be Dwan Brown, who's old, but he's still pretty good. They activated him off the physical unable to perform list finally, so he should be playing week one. You have Becton on the other side. Your guards, you got on one side you have Laken Tomlinson, another former 49er. Of course, the connection with Robert Saleh, I'm sure that's why he signed the Jets. Yeah, on the other side, Elijah Vera Tucker, who's really good. First round pick 2 years ago. He was hurt last year for a lot, but he's back. And the center should be either Connor McGovern or Joe Tippmann. So if they're healthy, I think it's a pretty good unit, but obviously helps the problem because your left tackle's 38 years old and your right tackle is Mekhi Becton, who hasn't stayed healthy in 3 years.
Yeah, that's the one thing I don't the Jets. It's definitely you know what though? Like it is asking a lot, but if Beckham if he can just manage to stay healthy, I think he'll be okay. And even a lot of as you know, if you're a Jets fan, a lot of people I've talked to, like we're Jets fans, they're high on the Pittman. I don't know much about
he's good. Yeah, he's he's a center. When he got drafted, I think it was Mel Kiper or Todd McShay said he might be better off as a guard, but I think he can play both, but he's primarily a center in college, but he might be a guard at this level. But yeah, I liked him coming out, and Connor McGovern, they didn't sign him until I think right before OTA started. So there was a hole at center, when they drafted him. So I was like, oh, this guy might actually start for them. So I was happy when they brought him in. Of course, and the re-signing Connor McGovern on a 1 year deal. But yeah, I do like him. And one thing I do think just have some depth. You have Max Mitchell, the swing tackle, who I think could be serviceable if Becton were to go down. You have Tippmann, who could step in if you have to slide Vera Tucker over or something for some reason at guard maybe. So yeah, I think they'll be okay.
How are you feeling about the running back situation? Because I don't Brees Hall obviously coming off that injury, but I don't want Cook to be taking too many carries off of him. I don't know how you feel about that, but obviously Cook. He's proven it. He's been a great player in this league, all pro, everything, great grade. But I feel like unless Brees Hall still has lingering injury effects, which I'm not saying he does, but I don't want him taking too many snaps. Just as a neutral, I don't want him taking too many snaps from Brees Hall because I really think he can be special.
Yeah, I actually really like that move because Obviously, there's been a lot of running backs who have been trouble getting paid. Why? Because these guys, they get hit so much, they take so much punishment that by the time they're 28, 29 years old, most of them don't have that much left. So it's why you see a lot of teams going to these two back sets. Look at a team like Seattle. You draft Kenneth Walker last year. He has 1,000 yards as a rookie, and then the next year later, they take Zach Charbonnet in the third round, and I expect him to be involved in their offense. And there's a lot of teams that are doing that. And I think we're just going to run the ball a lot. And then you think, oh, they rolled in Aaron Rodgers. That doesn't make a lot of sense. I think because you got Brees, who we all know can be very special. Dalvin Cook, who I don't think is the same 1,100-yard back he was last year and has been for years, but I still think he's a good back. You have this kid, Israel Abanikanda, the guy they drafted out of Pitt, looks really good. Yeah, you got Michael Carter there for depth. Michael Carter is on the night are going to be probably number 4 running back, and the other one will be traded. Carter may put in the practice squad. So they got a deep backfield, and they got a really good defense. Salah comes from the Niners, as you know. Niners love to, run multiple backs, and they love to, run the ball and play great defense. So I think that's what just are going to try to do. The last time they were good, the Jets, was back in 2010. Yes, the last time just made the playoffs was in 2010. I was 8 years old, and I'm going to my last year as an undergraduate in college. They won game. Their quarterback was Mark freaking Sanchez. So like, how did they get to the AFC Championship? They had a really good run game and a great defense. So I think they're going to run the ball a lot. So I'm actually happy with Cook. I expect Cook in the beginning of the year to be a little more the lead back as they ease Brees Hall back in it. And like as the season goes on, I think Brees Hall will be much more featured, and then Dalvin Cook will be less featured as the season goes on.
For sure, I can see that. That's why I was saying, like, of course, like Brees Hall, you want to work him back.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't want to be too aggressive. But
right.
Were you? Now I know you probably would have been the third or fourth receiver, but were you surprised to see Corey Davis retire, or is that not really a shock to you?
I was surprised, because he's a guy who hasn't been a great signing, to be honest with the Jets. If they gave him like 30-something million, and he really hasn't been great. And then the Jets could have cut him months ago. They could have saved like $10.5 million against the cap. I'm not surprised they haven't. They decided to keep him, so they wanted him there. They go in and get him a real quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, something he's really never had. In Tennessee's quarterback was Ryan Tannehill, Marcus Mariota. Tannehill for a couple years was pretty good, but he wasn't, to the level that Aaron Rodgers has been at any point in Rodgers' career. The last 2 years for the Jets, he's had as bad as quarterback play as you could possibly get with Zach Wilson and all the other just awful backups they've had, Mike White, all these other scrubs. So now they get him the quarterback, they keep him on the roster. Yes, they brought in some other names, so he's only the 4th receiver, but he would have finally had a chance to play for a good quarterback. He's making a good amount of money. He, not as much pressure. They just kept him on the roster, and then he retires. I was surprised. It's not that huge of a loss. Like I said, he's been a disappointment overall in the first 2 years for Jets. He's had a lot of dropping issues, but at the same time, they could probably use Bedell. I think they'll be fine. Like I said, I think they're going to run the ball a lot. I think they have a great quarterback now. But yeah, I was surprised, and I just hope there's like he said, I forgot what he said. But, it just seems like maybe he just wasn't enjoying football anymore for whatever reason. So I just hope that he's at peace, to be honest.
Yeah, of course, right? At the end of the day, obviously we're diehard fans, but
right.
We all at the end of the day we're all the same. We all live our lives. We just want to be happy and hopefully be successful, right? And so would Hardman take his play, or was Hardman already ahead of him in that part?
Hardman probably was. Their top 5 receivers before Davis retired were probably Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, McCole Hardman, Corey Davis, and Randall Cobb. So Hardman probably was just because of his speed, and he brings a lot of playoff experience as well. Coming from the Chiefs, he's won that. At least believe he was on both the Super Bowl teams, so he probably was. But obviously now he definitely is.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Who else is on that team, receivers wise?
They have Malik Turner, who's looked okay in preseason. I think he may have been in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. So, yeah, if so, we all know why he's here. This one kid they have is last name's like Yaboa or something. I don't know if he's like an undrafted kid or a late round pick or if he's like a second or third year player. He's looked pretty good. He's gotten a lot of playing time. Looks like he'll be on the roster. So they have a couple of younger guys who aren't big names, but have, showing probably enough in preseason to make the roster.
Nice. Yeah, no, just because like I try and keep up with like every league, of course, but like when it gets to certain parts of the depth chart, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know everything. So
Right, yeah.
if someone knows every team's six wide receiver, then they're probably need some help. I think that's
yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of studying. But yeah, that's just receiver depth chart is looking like right now. But here, Jules, let me ask you, if Purdy is healthy and he plays like he did last year, is the 49ers ceiling a Super Bowl? What's their ceiling if they can get some consistent quarterback play?
It's a good question. I mean, people, that's a thing, right? So like everyone's actually asking that. They're like, oh, Purdy plays the same. Um, that means the Niners will make the NFC Championship again. And it's like, well, in a vacuum, yeah, that could be right. But he could play just as good and the Niners lose in the divisional round or the wild card, right? Like it depends. It really depends on what happens. Because like at the end of the day, you keep on knocking, as you would know, because like when the Jets, well, the late 2000s, early 2010, 2011, the Jets were knocking at the door there, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't capitalize, like we've been to three NFC championships and now a Super Bowl. Like it gets to a point like if you don't take your opportunity, even though the NFC is still weak, if you don't take your opportunity, someone else is going to come and take it from you. And I don't know, even though our roster is just, in my opinion, it's better or just as good as the Eagles.
Yeah.
If we go up against the Eagles again, I mean, they have, in my opinion, a much better quarterback than us in Jalen Hurts.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of the thing because I'm probably a little maybe old school. Like if you don't have your elite quarterback, like you can win games in elite. You see it every year. Like backups come in and win.
Yeah.
But like you won't be able to win. Like it's obvious, but if Mahomes got an ankle injury, like if he didn't come back and it was Blaine Gabbert, like come on.
Yeah,
the Eagles are going to be hoisting the Lombardi.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, so that's just we'll see, right? I mean, hopefully he comes in, he's healthy, plays just as good, but there's also you can't be too blinded and drink your own Kool-Aid, right? There's a chance he's not as good and we're in trouble, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, is he gonna play as well as he did last year? I mean, looking back, maybe he was a little bit overlooked in the draft. Would he have been hired in the fourth round pick? No, but like, fourth round pick, if you take a guy in the fourth round, you're like, all right, maybe in a year or two he could be pretty good. Seventh round pick, you're like, you just hope that he makes the roster and he's, a depth option at that point. So yeah, it's a big mystery. They're the division. It's very top heavy to me. Seattle, I think, is very good. I think they'll definitely be in the playoffs again. The bottom half of the division isn't good. The Arizona is pitiful, and I don't think the Rams are that good. They just don't have the roster to me. Like, could they be better than last year? Maybe. They won 5 games last year, but I still think they're a playoff team. Arizona certainly isn't. So, but unless something goes pathetically wrong, Niners will be in the playoffs. But like you said, like they keep coming up, like getting really close. They're in the conference championship every year. They've been to a Super Bowl. They're really close, but at some point they got to capitalize before it's too late.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Like it's just like at the end of the day, like you said, like barring something catastrophic, we're going to be in the playoffs.
Oh yeah,
there's a chance. Listen, I hate Seattle, but there's a chance that they're very good this year, right? So
Yeah.
there is a chance we don't win the division, but I think right now we're probably easily the favorites to win. And it's like, but that's not really, not to sound like entitled, but that's not our expectation that to with this roster is to compete for the Super Bowl. It's not making the playoffs, right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, we'll see. This is the problem though. The team is so interesting because I don't know if you can, if things don't go well, I don't know if you can point to any team in recent memory that's gone through two or three quote unquote franchise quarterbacks, and the coach and GM are still here, because that's what,
Yeah.
if Purdy doesn't work out, and again, I'm not, he was a Mr. Irrelevant, but at the end of the day, Kyle chose him over Trey, right?
Yeah.
You gotta be, I'm not anti Kyle, I'm not anti this, but he's got to be accountable. You can't kick Lance to the curb and then and choose Brock, and then, oh well, he was Mr. Relevant. You can't say anything now.
No. Yeah.
It's like you chose him, and it's like you chose to get rid of Garoppolo, which is fair. You have your reasons, and everyone understands.
Mm.
You traded up for Trey. You essentially, we'll see what happens before week one, but he's essentially gone. I think that's fair to say, or at least he's very far down the depth chart. And it's like, if it doesn't work with Brock, that's three quarterbacks you chose essentially, and it didn't work out. So I'm curious to see what happens. It's gonna be a fascinating year, man.
Yeah. 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 That's a really good point that you made. It's very odd to see, a team with this amount of talent come up short, for what, 3, 4, 5 years in a row, and the coach stays, the GM stays. So to me, I mean, if to me, I'll put you this way: if they lose in the division round, they need to make a major change. Whether that's at the quarterback position, whether that means Kyle Shanahan, I don't know, but something off the chain. If they lose in the conference championship, all right, maybe like, all right, get us a freaking quarterback, and then no questions asked. But yeah, if they come up short again, they're gonna have to look. All right, what's the issue? So maybe they should have. I mean, to me, I would have taken Justin Fields. He was sitting right there. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's weird. I think I remember reading. Correct me if I'm wrong. You probably know more about this than I do. I thought Shanahan wanted Mac, but Lynch wanted Trey Lance, maybe. And obviously Lynch is the GM and Shanahan isn't. So Lynch said, "I'm the GM. You're not. We're taking Trey." So I don't know if Shanahan ever even wanted Trey Lance. I think he wanted Mac Jones.
Yeah, like that's obviously I've heard that too. And the thing is, Jake, like no one knows what the truth is, but even if that is true, like no, I'm not saying, I know he's still like young, but like look at Mac Jones. Either, and if people be like, well, he would have had the Niners roster. It's like, well, he's still a limited quarterback though.
Yeah, he is. He obviously can't really move around as much as some of these other guys.
And even that, like, don't get me wrong, like I'm not going home about the Patriots roster, but I mean their defense is still, I think their defense is on paper. It should be a good defense.
Absolutely.
And like, listen, I think I'm sure, yeah, I don't need to tell you, you've known about your entire life. Until Bill Belichick is dead, I am not counting that guy out.
No,
I don't care.
never.
I know that the last years, I'm not counting about anything. Like I actually think, again, a hot take, I think the Dolphins are going to finish last in your division.
I can see it. I can definitely see it. Absolutely. If Tua's, I mean, their quarterback is one hit away from possibly never playing again. That's really worrisome for me.
Yeah. That's the thing too. Like I'm now, of course, free agency's thin and stuff like that, but I'm surprised they didn't get like a bigger uh, insurance policy. Because like, listen, I don't think, no offense, but like Mike White, like I know he had that nice little, what was it? It was a 2 game stretch for the
Right,
Jets.
yeah. Is he a good backup? Yeah, but like Jets fans went crazy about him because he wasn't Zach Wilson because they were just Zach Wilson was so pitiful that and between Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson back to back, just Jets have had such porous, pitiful quarterback play. When they saw a quarterback even be somewhat serviceable, they freaked out like, "Oh, this is the guy," and you realize like, all right, he had whatever 300 yards against the Bears. The Bears last year were awful. I'd be concerned if he didn't, and then he played a real team and whoever the Vikings or whoever, and he looked like crap.
Yeah, I think correct me if I'm wrong. You guys cheered for this street.
Yeah, like and that's more of that's more on Zach Wilson. Like, why is this fourth string guy? This dude looks like he could work at Stop and Shop. Why does he look better than the guy who was the second pick in the draft?
Yeah, you know what though, man? Like it might be crazy to say just because I'm a neutral, but like who knows what the next like now we'll see how things go. Like hopefully Aaron stays healthy and stuff and he plays at a high level. Who knows what the next 2 years can be because if things go well for you guys and Zach has had this ability to learn from his it's his favorite it's his hero, right? I guess like his favorite player.
Yeah,
Or is that wrong? Right?
I'm trying to think.
No, Zach's that's his favorite player.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, I think he's mentioned that in the past.
Yeah, so like like listen, I'm not gonna say Zach Wilson's gonna turn into the franchise.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But like if he gets better these 2 years sitting and he becomes like even just a good starting quarterback, he doesn't need to be an elite. If he's a good starting quarterback, you guys are going to be laughing because if Aaron Rodgers, if you somehow, and listen, I'm sure half the world is probably rooting against you, but half the world is probably rooting for you. Like listen, I want the Niners to win, but if the Niners don't win, I would love to see the Jets win because like what the hell do I care? Right? But
yeah,
I'm a football
man. Yeah, that's it. That'll be interesting. Yeah, like look, I watched Zach Wilson play. It was ugly. And the lack of accountability after the Patriot game really pissed me off. And now you look back at when he was coming out, he was a starting quarterback for 4 years at BYU, was never voted team captain once. I mean, he grew up, in Mormon country with a lot of money, was probably very entitled. They're like, okay, wait a minute, maybe we looked a little too much into the one throw we had at this pro day. On the other hand, now he gets to sit on Aaron Rodgers for 2 years, or a year or two, or however long he sits behind him. So far in the preseason, I'll say this: watching Zach Wilson in the preseason, he looks like a NFL quarterback. Does he look like a good one? No, he looks like an okay backup right now. He's had some nice throws. Those had some plays that he's missed. There's some players like, oh, he picked up where he left off. Some players like he's had a couple of drives where like, that was actually a good drive. That drive looked like a drive that was led by an NFL quarterback. So, and maybe next year he looks even better. So that's going to be interesting because the Jets will have a decision to make on his fifth-year option after the season. And if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback next year, and this year goes well, and they win 10+ games, and they win a playoff game or something, and they think next year they can win a Super Bowl, and then Aaron Rodgers will be the quarterback until he just decides not to play anymore. It's gonna be interesting if they want to keep Zach Wilson through, for another couple of years. After considering what they've seen from him when he's been on the field, not been pretty.
Yeah, I know, of course, but it is. I mean, I would imagine it's going off like. I know, like I don't think they're gonna pick up a 5th-year option because why would they?
Yeah,
like they wouldn't do that. I think.
No,
but it's gonna be really interesting because like it could be like it's funny because like one of my best friends is a Jets fan, so that's why I always love talking to Jets fans because like I talk to my buddy every day about it, so like I'm pretty dialed in. But it could really, after all the years where you guys have dealt with like just shit quarterback play and shit teams, you guys could find yourself in a position where if it's fantasy world and you guys win the Super Bowl in the next 2 years and then they hand it off to Zach Wilson, like you guys are laughing, in my opinion. You're laughing.
Yeah, if we get a Super Bowl out of it, that'll be fantastic.
He's on low buddy still because he hasn't been good.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll be a cheap deal. Maybe if in 2 years Aaron Rodgers retires, and then maybe like, all right, well, let's just give this kid a shot. Let's give him one last shot. You know, with we got a good roster, and he sat behind Rodgers for 2 years. You know, if in their opinion, they think he's learned a lot, and they think he's matured, and they think he's overall looked better. You know, he couldn't get really any worse, but at the end of the day, he was looked better. Maybe they give him another shot, but also if they decline his 5th-year option, and then after next year he's a free agent, that will depend if Aaron Rodgers is still playing football.
Yeah, and I feel like I don't again like can't speak for Jets fans, but I feel like if Aaron wins the Super Bowl, I think he's gone for the 2 years. I think
yeah.
He does so much stuff. I don't know if you like listen, Aaron. Like I was growing up, I just as you said, like right. It's like we're kind of I don't know if we're probably not exact same age. But like I've seen Aaron Rodgers my entire life, right?
So pretty much, yeah.
He's one of the greatest quarterbacks in my opinion.
Absolutely.
It's like, but he's got such an interesting life, like outside.
Oh yeah, he's very wacky.
Yeah, he's on the shrooms and stuff like that.
The darkness retreat.
Yeah, the darkness. So, listen, he's not going to be bored and retire. Right? So,
no. But yeah, he's very weird off the field. He's gotten really weird as he's gotten older. But yeah, so I mean, I think he plays at least next year. He signed the restructured deal and came out and said, "Oh yeah, this is never going to be a 1-year thing for a reason." If there's any dude that would do that and then retire after the season, it would be Aaron Rodgers. Heck, when the trade wasn't done yet, I was thinking, all right, yes, he said in front of thousands of people on the Pat McAfee show that he wants to play for the Jets, but if there's any dude that would just be like, you know, I think I'll retire. I'll play for the Packers 1 more year. If one dude was going to do it, if there's going to be anyone, it would be Aaron Rodgers. So you never know, but I think that the Jets will have him for about 2 years.
Yeah, of course. And it's like, again, like not to repeat myself, but it's like it all depends. Like it depends how this season goes. It's like realistically, if they somehow do everything goes, they put everything together, they play a high level, and then they make the playoffs, they go on a run, and they somehow win. I don't think Jets fans will be too pissed if he retires because he got that trophy.
If Aaron Rodgers gets the Jets a Super Bowl, I don't care what happens. I don't care if he retires and go like to Zach Wilson. Zach is just as bad, and they suck for another 5 years. If they haven't made the playoffs since I was 8 years old. I was in, I think, 3rd grade when they made the playoffs. Heck, if they make the playoffs and lose in the first round, I'll be happy. Everyone's saying Super Bowl or bust. Like I haven't seen them make the playoffs since I was 8 years old. If they make the playoffs, I'll be happy.
Yeah, no. Listen, I'm not. I wouldn't even. You can't say Super Bowl or bust. Like I never understood that. I'm just talking about like living in a fantasy world. Like if everything goes
right
to plan, Super Bowl. But like I would say though, with Aaron Rodgers now, I think the minimum for this year is they have to make the playoffs.
Absolutely.
And then I would like to see them win the playoff game. And then
I would like it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. Next year though next year would be the expectations where I'd say, okay, you guys came in, you won a playoff game. You already made the playoffs, won a playoff game. Now you got to get to the NFC the AFC or the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
that would be my expectation.
Yeah, to me, if next year, I mean, this year to make the playoffs, if we're pretty sure Rodgers will play if this will be a 3-year thing with Rodgers, I think okay, they gotta get to at least the conference championship next year, and then they need the Super Bowl. But if it's looking like Rodgers is going to retire, I doubt he's going to come out and say it because he's just not that kind of guy. He'll hint at it. He'll hint at 6 different things throughout the offseason and confuse every single person on the planet to the point where all right, Aaron, just go play and we'll figure out the end of the season because he likes to be very cryptic. But yeah, if we think he's going to retire to next year I think will become Super Bowl or bust, whether that's fair or not.
Yeah, for sure. And hold on, sorry, I'm just reading something.
We're on Talkin Sports with Jake. We're talking to Julian. Didn't want to call him Jules because that's his Twitter name. Julian's his real name on this thing. We're talking with Julian. We're talking he's a Niners fan. I'm a Jets fan. We're talking some football. Mainly the New York Jets and the San Francisco 49ers. But yeah, to reiterate, Jets need to at least make the playoffs. I don't think it's Super Bowl or bust yet, but they need to at least make the playoffs. I'd like to see them win a playoff game, but the floor needs to be getting to the postseason. That absolutely needs to happen. And while Julian is doing something right now, I'm actually gonna talk about a little bit more. Let's stay on the NFL topic. Jonathan Taylor has 6 teams that are interested in him for a trade. The Colts would like him to find a trade partner by Tuesday. Apparently, there are 6 teams interested. Apparently, he has 2 offers on the table. And one of those 2 offers is the Miami Dolphins. And we had a trade. The Giants got Isaiah Simmons from the Arizona Cardinals for a 7th-round pick. That was a good trade. He's a young player. He was the 8th pick in the draft a few years ago. Free agent at the end of the season, not making a lot of money. They give up nothing for him. He's a guy who goes out and plays well. Now the Giants could potentially look to re-sign him after the season. If he goes out there and isn't that good, they can let him go. It's a 1-year thing. So I think it's a nice move for the New York Giants. So going back to
I'm back. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I was actually talking about Jonathan Taylor. He's got the Colts led secret trade, and also the Giants got Isaiah Simmons from the Arizona Cardinals.
Man, the Cardinals. Sorry, not to be rude, but like I don't give a shit. The Cardinals are the stupidest franchise. I'll get messed up that play. Like when he came out, I'm like, oh my god.
Oh yeah.
When they drafted him and it was his rookie year and stuff, and we were going up against him, I'm like, oh my god, we're fucked. And now he's gonna go. Who's their defensive? Is it Wink Martindale or no?
In
the Giants.
Yes, he is their coordinator. Yeah.
Yeah, like he's gonna make magic with that guy. So I'm happy because he's out of the division, I guess, but he didn't really do anything. So I don't know. And then you said Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, the Colts let him seek a trade. They said he got until Tuesday to find a trade. There's 16 interested. He has 2 offers on the table, and one of them is from the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, see, I don't. Man. I think Jonathan Taylor. I mean, incredible player. I think he got like bad information from like an agent or something like that. Because like, I don't mind that I just feel like the timing wasn't good. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I don't think he's wrong to request a trade because he wants to be compensated for what he feels he's worth, right? I can never blame a guy for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the timing and like the manner in which he went about it, and obviously we don't know the full story because we're not in on the Colts.
You're right.
Like we don't have info on the Colts, but like yeah, and then Miami like. Okay, so you're going to give up all those assets just to, of course, he's going to be incredible for your team, but like, is he going to be good enough that you're going to win because of Jonathan Taylor? I don't know if you could say that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously 2 years ago, he was fantastic. He was a beast. He was probably the best back in the league, was an MVP candidate. last year, a bit of a down year. He had some injuries that cost him some time. He wasn't as effective. And now, of course, he wanted the contract extension, and Ursay, their owner just basically said no, not happening. And then he went on his very odd quotes about basically said he hates running backs. Then his whole quote was like, "Oh, if I die, no one will miss me." That whole thing. So obviously Taylor isn't happy. At first, he said not trading him, not happening, and now all of a sudden they're letting him seek a trade. So it's a very tough situation. It's like like for example, like Josh Jacobs with the Raiders, that's to the point where I think he'll show up for week one. He doesn't want to lose any more money. If he signs his franchise tender, he'll make over $10 million. Jonathan Taylor is making next to nothing this year. He was a second round pick. He's not under contract next year. So he needs to have a big year where he's going to lose a lot of money. He's not going to get nearly as much money as he wants. So yeah, so that's a sticky situation. But yeah, I hope they get it resolved for Jonathan Taylor. I hope he can just get out of there because clearly he's not very happy there.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not saying he's doing it by himself, but it's just the whole situation is just it's gotten very like public, and it's just a distraction from the Colts, right? Because they're trying to get their Richardson like acclimatized to the league and stuff, and trying to get him like going and stuff, and it's just
Yeah,
not to not have your number one running back there, and I can't speak for Colts fans, but it seems like he was somewhat of a leader for them. I don't know if that's true or not, but
I would assume
it
so.
feels like he is, and probably want a guy like that throughout. OTA is not really a big deal, but at least they're trying to have that presence with the team. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, and there was the whole talk of when the draft Richardson, like, oh, the read option game with Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson is going to be really hard to defend, hard to game plan against. And now it looks like we might never get to see that because it looks like he might be traded possibly by next week. Jonathan Taylor might not be an Indianapolis Colt next week.
Yeah, yeah, I'm curious to see I mean, it's so tough because even we traded for Christian McCaffrey, which was very, very shocking. I mean, there were rumors, but it was very shocking to see it. And it's but for a team like Miami, I feel like that is the team that does pay for him. I'm kind of worried because their offensive line isn't our offensive line last year wasn't. It was solid. It was solid, I think, but Miami's to me is not very good, and it's I just don't know if that's a good landing spot. And then giving up all those assets when they're kind of lacking, even their secondary, right? Jalen Ramsey goes down, and then
that's big.
Howard had to get an off season last year, in my opinion. He wasn't as good as he is, and then it's tough, man. I think they still got to build that team up a bit. I don't know if Jonathan Taylor's the piece they should go in for, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I see where people are coming from to where now you can run the ball more, take it now two won't have to throw as much. Now it's just a play. Now the big play threat, which is already very prevalent with Tyreek Hill and Jay Waddle, becomes even more dangerous because they set up play action. Tuba can launch it deep to Hill or Waddle. But also, you got if he wants a contract, are you willing to give it to him? I mean, he's coming off an injury-plagued season. He's only had one really great year. He was good as a rookie, and then he was great 2 years ago. And then last year he was kind of okay. He was just okay. He's only had one great year. He wants to be paid like an elite back when he has not been elite 2 out of the 3 years. He hasn't been bad by any means, but he hasn't been elite. Do you want to do that? And if he goes out and has a big year, now it gets tricky. You might tag him, and now that whole game gets tricky. So it's definitely a slippery slope there.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it sucks what's happened to the running backs, but it's just a reality of the league, right? That's just how things are going right now. That they're not valued, and even the Niners are probably the biggest culprit of it, right? We had from 2017 to maybe even last year, we had our leading rusher was a different rusher every year.
Yeah.
2017. I'm gonna get these mixed up, but one year it was Elijah Mitchell. One year it was Raheem Mostert. One year it was Jeff Wilson.
Yeah.
One year it was Christian McCaffrey last year, sorry. And
yeah.
then who was the fifth guy? Who am I missing here? There's another guy. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. But we had for the last 5 years. We've had a different leading rusher every year. So we're the worst for it. We're the prime example of why are you gonna pay a running back when we've had 5 different guys who almost now they're not Jonathan Taylor, but like they're getting almost 1,000 yards every year.
Yeah, and then you also the trade from McCaffrey I think was a great trade. They gave up a couple of picks, but they didn't even have to give up a first rounder for maybe it was back in 08. I thought that was a phenomenal trade for the 49ers as another elite weapon to all their set of weapons. But yeah, there's also like the whole I remember I think it was when Josh Jacobs, Pollard, and Barkley didn't get long-term deals. Like all the running backs were going off on Twitter. I think it was Austin Eckler tweeted out, was like, "Oh, every good team has a good back." Like, no, not necessarily. The Chiefs won a Super Bowl with Isaiah Pacheco last year.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, the guy I forgot was
Matt Breida. I remember him. I remember him. Oh my god.
He was the first guy who started it. That made us the run, but yeah, no. It sucks, but yeah, like and people hate when you bring it up because they get defensive, but it's like that Super Bowl running back thing, it's real. Like, look at the guys who have won. Like,
yeah,
it's like you said, Pacheco with the Rams. Who was it with the Rams? Was it Cam Akers or Sony Michel? Like, I don't even remember.
Yeah, it was when they won. I think it was Michelle. I believe was there. I think it was pretty sure it might have been Michelle and Akers. They very few teams in the last at least 10 years, 10 even 15 years, have had a McCaffrey or a Derrick Henry kind of back and won a Super Bowl. Like the only elite back I can think it's won a Super Bowl. I can't even think of one. Like
I can't go back 2020 the Bucks. They had Leonard Fournette. 2019 Chiefs had, I think, was it Darrell Williams or Damian Williams?
It was Damian Williams, yeah.
And then before that, it might have even been Sony Michel again on the
Patriots, yeah. So it's like these guys are just mediocre. These guys are mediocre backs. Like if you can win with Isaiah Pacheco, some 7th round pick. I mean, it helps him being in Andy Reid's offense and having Pat Mahomes, but still, like if you can throw a guy out there like that and he can be productive enough that you can win a Super Bowl, why would you pay Jonathan Taylor all this money when you can use that for other assets?
I agree 100%. And that's why, I think for my team, it's a little different just because of our situation. But even then, when Christian McCaffrey, I don't know his contract off the top of my head, but when it comes time to pay him, again, I don't know his contract, but what are the Niners going to do? Like, if we don't win a Super Bowl with them, why are we going to re-sign him?
Yeah, that's going to be tricky. They're going to look at him and be like, dude, you're amazing. First of all, in the past, he's an injury concern. Second of all, paying a running back almost never works. So, and I mean, the number 2 back is still Elijah Mitchell, who a couple of years ago I thought was really good. When he was healthy, at least.
Yeah, and then we even have Ty Davis-Price, who a lot of us are high on too. It's just we just keep on. Kyle loves his running backs. That's
he does.
About Kyle Fang. He loves his running backs. So I know someone actually made a joke. It's like, can we count the Niners out of the Jonathan Taylor race?
They love the running backs.
Yeah, so it's gonna be it sucks what's happening to Jonathan Taylor and even Jacobs, but and even when Saquon settled and they renegotiated and they did they gave him, was it the signing bonus or they gave him a little bit more guaranteed than the franchise tag, I believe?
They basically gave him the same base salary as the tag, but he earned an extra $900,000 if he has I think 1,300 plus rushing yards. He needs 65 catches, and the Giants need to make the playoffs, so he can earn up to 11. So it's basically the franchise tag plus a couple of incentives. That's basically what the contract is. And I guess Saquon was like, well, it's either I sign this and then or sit out. And we've seen sitting out a season go make ruins a guy's career. Look what happened to Le'Veon Bell. Trust me, I know. When he came to the Jets, I was so excited, and the production we got out of him was horrible.
Yeah, I was actually kind of sad because Le'Veon Bell, man, when he was on top of his game.
Oh yeah,
Was maybe not the best to some people, but he was definitely top three running back.
absolutely.
When he was on top of his game, he was like that Steelers offense. When you had what was it? What they call it, the three Bs.
Yeah, Ben, Brown, and Bell. They were insane.
And Antonio Brown, he's a basket case, but I mean,
before he went crazy, he was amazing.
In my opinion, the first ballot Hall of Fame wide receiver.
Yeah.
He was a freak, and he was what, like 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah, he was a small guy. Yeah, to me, Antonio Brown kind of show people like just because you're even if you're 5'10", 170, 180 pounds as a receiver, you can still be really, really good, which I think was why you got some guys who aren't that big now, or guys going in the first round, guys like, Garrett Wilson and Marquise Brown even, or guys who were they're really small, and you're like, oh, well, they're so small, but then you're like, well, Antonio Brown before he went crazy was putting up 1,800 yards a season at the same body frame, basically.
I got a question for you, just to switch up a bit here.
Yep.
If it putting your Jets cap aside, is there a team in the AFC that you think people are sleeping on?
I would say I think that Jacksonville people are sleeping on to an extent, just because last year they were obviously a lot better. They got themselves a real coach in Peterson. Their team improved a lot, bringing Christian Kirk. Lawrence was much better. They stole the division. They won a playoff game. That crazy comeback against the Chargers, or choked up by the Chargers, however way you want to put it. And then they get Calvin Ridley back, and people forget because he hasn't played so long. The last time we saw him on the field for a full season, he had over 1,400 yards. He was really, really good. You have Christian Kirk, who had 1,000 yards last year. And, I'll play Trevor Lawrence, who we forget was one of the best quarterback prospects of all time. 2 years ago when he came out, the ceiling is the limit for that kid. And then you got, ETN's got another year under his belt. You have guys like Zay Jones is still there. Evan Engram is still there. The same head coach, same offensive coordinator. The defense isn't super scary. It's okay. They could maybe add another piece to the defense, but their offensive line is still really good. I know they lose Jawan Taylor, but the kid they draft, Anton Harrison, I think is good. And Cam Robinson's only suspended for 4 games. So they'll have him back by week 5. So that's a team that should only get better because of all the reasons I said. And they were in the division round of the playoffs last year. So I think they're a team that could be a sleeper to go far in the playoffs. And their division is very easy. So they'll win the division by week 14 or something.
Yeah, no, I think the Jags. I mean, I think they're only going to get better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you said,
absolutely.
With division and Trevor Lawrence, you probably think maybe he's going to take another step this season, having a little bit of building up the chemistry now. Same coach, same coordinator. So we'll see what happens there. But I'd say my team in the AFC that I think. I don't know necessarily. I'm sure you can make a case for any team, but I think the team I'd say is the Browns.
That's an interesting one.
Is that my only fear, and it's a big one, is I don't know what Deshaun Watson's going to be like.
Right.
And that's the bit because their roster, man.
So good. I mean,
their offensive line is incredible.
Absolutely.
I think, in my opinion, their front seven is ridiculous.
Very good.
And their secondary, although it was a little banged up last year, I think it can be a really good secondary. And it's really, even their offense, you got Chubb, you still got, it's really just going to come down to if Watson, put aside the off the field issues because That's we're talking about the player. The guy, the person, I don't like him, but the player, if he returns to anything like he was in Houston, I think the Browns could be a problem.
Absolutely. If he's the guy who was in Houston, Cleveland should be in the playoffs, and it shouldn't even be particularly close. If you look at the roster from top to bottom, the roster is really, really good. We're just not sure if can Deshaun Watson be the guy he was in Houston. Obviously he hasn't played a lot of games recently, but yeah, if he's the guy who was in Houston, they will be I think at least a 10-win team. Their team's really, really good. I don't see why they wouldn't be. The division's tough, but the Bengals are really good. The Ravens are pretty good, but I think they're at least better. Their ceiling is probably they're better than the Steelers, at least on par, Baltimore if not better, and very, very close to the Bengals. That's what I would say about the Cleveland Browns.
That's honestly how I see it too. Like, with some respect for the Steelers and stuff, and I know the fans won't really like it, but it's like I think you know what, man. Eventually, you have to take one step back to take two steps forward, and I think they're gonna. And listen, it's very foreign territory for them, but I think they're gonna finish last this year. Now, does that mean they're a bad team? No, it just means that their division is finally at a point where, which I don't know if you could say for a long time, considering the Browns were, and the Bengals at some point in there, but they have they have four teams that if any four of them made the playoffs, I would not be shocked. I don't know how many divisions you could say that other than maybe the AFC East.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think those are the two divisions that, like, in some capacity, I can see all four, even the Patriots. Like, I'm not saying the Patriots are but if the Patriots were, if we get to January and people are like, oh, the 9-8 Patriots made the playoffs, I'm not going to be absolutely floored and like so shocked.
Me either. Yeah, if they have an actual offensive coordinator now, they should be on paper. They're a little bit better, and they were a game out last year. They can definitely get in. But yeah, AFC is just so loaded. And like in the NFC, they're maybe a little more predictable because like 9 wins is like definitely getting you into a wild card spot. AFC 9 wins, I don't know if it gets you in. It's very, very, very deep conference.
The NFC is a clown show.
Really, it really is.
Right now, like whoever gets in that 7th spot, they're probably not going to be a good team, but they're just going to get in because the conference is so weak.
Yeah, I mean the 7th spot in the NFC the last year, I think was I'm trying to think. I think the Giants were the 6.
The 7th was the Seahawks.
It was Seattle, yeah, and they were decent last year. I mean, I think the whole thing was because we all thought they were going to suck because they had Geno Smith, and then all of a sudden Geno Smith had a breakout year, and they were a little better than expected. Yeah, like that like the 7 seed's going to be a team like maybe like the Giants or something who's like good, but like compared to like the top teams in the league, they don't really stand much of a chance. Like the Niners blew them out of the water in the wild card round.
Yeah, it was the first time. I mean, it's the first time. I'm trying to think. Probably the first time. Hold on, let me think. Yeah, we beat them 3 times. I don't remember the last time we've done that.
Right? Yeah.
But that's also like, listen, on paper, everything like we're better than the Seahawks, but like that's why I'm still of the old school thinking. I know people don't subscribe to it, but like I think home field does still matter. It's a lot
to an extent, yeah.
Yeah, to an extent. Like, listen, if the Cardinals play at home in the playoffs, hypothetically to the Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to lose by a lot.
Right.
But like, if it's teams that are somewhat close, I think it matters. I know a lot of people don't agree with that line of thinking, but like, if you have, let's just say the Jets, I guess the Jets and the Bills. If that game is in Buffalo, I would probably lean towards the Bills. But if that game's with the Jets, I'm leaning, and I know that's how the league works. That's how they do the betting odds and stuff. But like, if that game's in New York, I'm gonna be okay. Yeah, the Jets can win this, right?
Yeah, I think in the NFL it's more important. Like, I think it depends on the sport. To me, like hockey, I don't think it's that big of a deal. But in baseball, I think it's a decent deal. But in football, I feel like home field advantage matters a little bit more.
Yeah, like even look at. I know obviously game didn't go how it went, how we wanted, but even that game for us in the NFC Championship game, like playing in Philadelphia, like that's no joke.
Yeah,
that's not like you're not playing in Jacksonville. Like,
yeah.
you're playing in a hostile crowd.
Can imagine what the Eagles fans were saying to the Niners. Definitely can't say it on the air.
I've never been to Philly, but like
Me either.
if someone offered me tickets to a game against the Niners, I wouldn't go. I would just or something like I wouldn't go.
You wouldn't like if you couldn't walk into the stadium with like your 49ers gear, like you would get mauled.
100%. I've been to too many like games in my life, but like that's what everyone tells me. And even like, I mean, but just like you too, like there's a couple games like you kind of know as an opposing fan, like one game, like I went to a Bills game against the Niners, like I think it was like 2017 or 2016, and I wore gear because I was younger and I was stupid, and the amount of abuse I got, like I was like, this is crazy. Like every 5 minutes, some guy would, and even girls, man.
Wow.
These girls are just calling me like a fucking retard. Yeah, I'm like, bro, like I'm just here with my dad, man. Like,
yeah, like when I went to a Mets Philly, I'm a Mets fan. Years ago. I went to a Mets Phillies game at Citizens Bank Park in Philly with my dad, and I had a Met shirt on or a Met hat on. And like we were walking in, the guy was very chill about it. And he was like joking because I was like he saw I was like 9 years old, so he wasn't gonna like be all angry at a 9-year-old. He was like boo. He was like kind of joking. He was like very calm back because he saw I was my dad was with a 9-year-old. But like for example, like when I went to the like my dad and I did a Pennsylvania vacation. We went to the Mets Pirates game. No one really said a word. In fact, like I sat next to this Pirates fan who I was like talking with like almost the whole game. When we went to the Mets Phillies game, you had some guys like kind of jokingly booing, kind of I got some looks, Philly's a different animal.
Yeah, 100%. And even just to piggyback off what I was saying, like, yeah, the Bills won. Like, obviously, it was. I know better now. Like, if I go there, I'm probably just gonna wear like all black or something like that. But there was one Bills fan that actually had to defend me at one point, like because a guy started like throwing shit at me.
Jesus.
Bills, like it wasn't like throwing like napkins and like straws at me.
Jesus Christ. It is. Wow. That that's crazy. Yeah. That's absolutely wild. Yeah, those Bills fans, they are crazy. They are a very energetic group. They love their tables.
Yeah, that's for sure. Listen, I live right next to Buffalo, right?
Oh wow, okay.
So like, those people, man, like they live. I'm not saying that other fan bases don't, but like they live Buffalo Bills football. Like I'm even.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes not to get too little off topic, but sometimes I'm on like Hinge, right?
Mm-hmm.
After like girls from Buffalo,
right?
All their pictures, their Bills game. Like what the
oh yeah, yeah. Like yeah, when it comes to these Bills fans, unless you're in WWE, you should not voluntarily be jumping through a table. I'm sorry, you should not be.
They treat it like it's like a virginity thing. It's like, oh, you have to go through a table or else like you're a loser.
I know, like if I was there, I'd be like, I'm not jumping through a table. I'm not Jeff Hardy from WWE. I'm not jumping through a table.
Could you imagine you do a little swan on bond off the top of a trailer?
I'm like, and the crazy thing is, if there's a Bills fan that likes WWE, they've probably done it. Like they're crazy.
Yeah, I was one of the most like. So I was at that point. I was still. How old was I? I was probably. I think I was like 16, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think 16 or something like that. So then, actually no, maybe 17. But anyways, I'll never forget. You show up to the game. We showed up to the game early, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was a 1 p.m. Kickoff.
Uh-huh.
A guy showed up and he had a 30 round and it was
Jesus.
almost done.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I was like, I'm at my university or something. It's a college party. I'm like, it was hilarious.
That's wild. Yeah. Bills fans are crazy.
Are you guys? I assume you're in the. You said you're in the New York area, right?
Yeah, I go to school in Connecticut, but I live in New York.
Okay, in the Jets games, or you had?
I went to one a few years ago. I'm probably going to go to a few this season since they're actually good this year.
Yeah, no, honestly, yeah. I was gonna ask you anything about like the tailgate because I kind of I was looking at like I mentioned earlier, one of my buddies is a Jets fan, and we were looking at the week one because there's still a lot of tickets left, and I just think like prime time Aaron Rodgers debut against the Bills on 9/11. Like I feel like that's gonna be a fucking epic game.
That's going to be a great game. It's a very, I think, a very important game because of the divisional games in that division are going to be very important. So yeah, it's going to be a big game. It'll be a nice tribute to 9/11, and I think it's going to be a phenomenal game.
I mean, it's Monday night too. Like that's
Yes, so everyone's watching.
like I don't even want your brain to like go to think too far ahead. But could you imagine like you guys show up and Aaron Rodgers throws like 3 or 4 tuds, and you guys
Oh
just
my God.
obliterate the bill? Like I don't think you'll be able to contain your height.
No, yeah, you there's a show I called there's the shows like Talkin, the New York media. I wouldn't turn on the TV and listen to them for a week because there's gonna be a lot of yapping. All those chefs are gonna be beating their chest if that happens. That would be great. That would be fantastic.
This again, like kind of close. So I'm kind of close to you guys, right? Toronto, like in New York. I think the league is just even though I don't like I can't stand the Giants, by the way. But even though I don't like them, but when both New York teams are good, like the league is just better. I don't think it's a cliche thing to say. I think it's real. Like even as much as I fucking can't stand the Cowboys and I can't stand
Oof.
other than the Seahawks, the Rams, and probably like the Raiders, the Cowboys are right up there for me of teams that
Absolutely.
I'm sure a lot of teams like that, but like when the Cowboys are good, it makes it better.
The league is better because it brings in so much more money when a team like that is good.
And just like I mentioned earlier with you guys, this season, how it's going to be like half the people are tuning in for you guys to lose. Half of them are hoping you win. That's Cowboys football and everything.
Oh yeah.
Like that Sunday night game against the Giants is going to be crazy because everyone wants to see them lose.
Yeah, and then like yeah, that's gonna be an interesting game. Yeah, they tend to play on Sunday football a lot, especially week one. That should be a really good game. There's a couple of really good games.
Which is annoying, but I get it because they're the Cowboys.
It is annoying. What really annoys me is why they're always on Thanksgiving, which again, I get it. It's the biggest market. It's Thanksgiving. Obviously football Thanksgiving, go together like peanut butter and jelly. I get it. But it's just annoying, especially since they never win.
Yeah.
They always lose.
I wouldn't say a lot, but a lot of the diehard fans in Canada, we actually celebrate your Thanksgiving because football's on.
Oh yeah, during Thanksgiving, I'm always at my grandma's house in Jersey. While my whole family's cooking and doing stuff, I go in the guest bedroom and I watch football all day.
Yeah, because like we make it like me and my buddies, like we're all diehard football fans. We make it joke. We get two Thanksgiving. We get the Canadian Thanksgiving, and then we get the
Oh.
Because ours is in October.
Really?
Yeah, ours is it's usually second week of October.
That I did not know. Learn something new every day. The Canadian Thanksgiving is second week in October. That's very interesting.
But it sucks. A lot of times, obviously, we're Berkeley. So we gotta kind of
Mm.
like find wiggle rooms to watch it
Right, yeah.
for an hour.
So wait, do you guys, this might be a stupid question, but do you guys have like turkey and all that for Thanksgiving? Is like the tradition the same?
There's some similarities.
Okay.
Like it's for everyone's family, but like we don't turkey because a lot of we don't really like it.
Okay. That's, to be honest, it's not even my favorite food anyway. I just, my parents and like my whole family, they all make it. It's not even my favorite. I like it, but like if I didn't have it, I honestly wouldn't be that mad. It's just the cool. It's a tradition. I like the met like the pasta that I have during the turkey. I'll say that.
Yeah, we have like I don't know exactly. I know some of the dishes you guys have, but you guys have like stuffing and stuff.
Yes.
So I like that, and then I usually, this might sound kind of weird, but I usually put the cranberry sauce on the stuffing.
That's interesting. I mean, I don't even to be honest, I don't even really eat stuffing. I don't like most of Thanksgiving food, but like my family does. That's not the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, and then I don't. Yeah, ours is just different because like you guys have like, you guys have like casserole or no? Is that not Thanksgiving?
What was that?
You guys have casserole? Is that Thanksgiving or no? That's another
Casserole. I think we've had it before. It's not like super tradition, like as like turkey and stuffing is, but it's not like abnormal to see it at a Thanksgiving table. But it's also not like I don't think not. But if it's not at every Thanksgiving table, I'll put it that way.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, no, because we don't do that here, but I've seen some people in the States have it. Like I don't really.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. A lot of people do, but like it's not like super like traditionist as like the turkey is. It's but a lot of people do have it though.
Yeah. Who would have thought talking about Thanksgiving on fucking?
It's in August.
Yeah, you know.
All right, Julian, is there anything else that you want to cover?
I know I'm good. I actually got to leave in like 2 minutes, so I don't know if you're in the space, but yeah, I gotta go soon. So.
All right, well, Julian, thank you so much for coming on. This was a lot of fun. We're on talking to Jake. We're talking with Julian, and thanks again for coming on. And you're welcome anytime.
Yeah, appreciate you hosting this week. Have a good day.
You too, Julian. That was Julian. First time on my show. That was a lot of fun. We're gonna finish up here. We got some debate. We'll start with MLB scores. We got I mentioned right before Julian came on. The Cubs beat the Tigers 6-4. Young Gomes go ahead hitting the 8th inning. Brewers over the Twins 8-7 in 10 innings. Yeah, the White Sox with the Mariners 5-4 in 10 innings. So the Seattle's win streak is snapped at 8. The Royals over the Athletics 4-0. Home from Bobby Witt. Cole Reagans with a shutout. He's looked pretty good. A young pitcher for the Royals. I got Giants over the Phillies 8-6 in 10 innings. Paul Young, who had 3 hits in 18, he played for the Blue Jays for 18 days. He had 3 hits in that span. He had 3 hits in his first game of the Giants where he got picked up after his DFA by Toronto. Crazy. Reds beat the Angels 9-4. We'll get to the Angels, talk about the Angels a little bit more very shortly. Padres shut out the Marlins 4-0. Second straight 6 scoreless inning outing for Seth Lugo. Rays beat the Rockies 6-5 in 10 innings. Rays came back in Allen, 10th inning hit from Brandon Lowe wins the game. Orioles over the Blue Jays 7-0. 2 home runs for Anthony Santander. They got a good outing from Dean Kremer. Yankees finally win again. They win 9-1. Aaron Judge with 3 homers, including a grand slam. So he literally put the team on his back. Severino actually pitched a good game. It was against the freaking Nationals, but something. Braves beat the Mets 7-0 to all the Mets fans who were like, or on social media saying, "Oh, we're gonna surge into the playoffs now." Really? You beat the Pirate. You won series against the Pirates and the Cardinals, and now you get and then you beat the Braves. We won 2 games against the Braves because they won the last against the Braves. They won it, but they lost the first 3 games. Combined score 34-3. Well, here we come, and then they get shut out 2 short games against the Braves. The Mets are done. Red Sox beat the Astros 7-5 in 10 innings. A 3-run homer in the 10th for Duvall. And the Reds beat the Angels 7-3. I guess they have doubleheader. So Reds beat the doubleheader. Angels. And speaking of the Angels, more awful news. Shohei Ohtani, superstar player. He came out of his start the other day with elbow injury. Said it was cramps. He has a torn UCL, and he is not going to pitch for us this season. There's a low stroke. They don't know if he might not need surgery. They're getting a second opinion to see if he needs surgery. Of course, if he does, it would be Tommy John. Obviously going to be a free agent. Everyone is expecting him to get at least $500 million. This will be a second Tommy John surgery, so I'm not sure what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, I think he's still going to hit. Bryce Harper played through the injury through the World Series last year and hit, so I think Ohtani will be fine. If I'm him, I'm telling the Angels, screw you. I'm done with you. I'm not coming back. I'm having the surgery now. Usually you can come back in 7, 8. I think Harper had it right after the World Series, so I think late October, maybe even early November. Then let's see, December, January, February, March, April, May. So, but he missed only about a little over 6 months and came back for the Phillies. As a DH, and then they put him a little bit at first base. So since the time he's only a DH, he could, if he had the surgery now, I think September, October, November, December, he could probably be ready for opening day as a hitter. He might not be able to pitch next year, but he'll be able to pitch by 2025. I'm not sure how much he's going to pitch and hit because now he's having a second Tommy John surgery. I think if he can be ready to hit by the beginning of the season next season, and he can pitch by 2025, even if you think he can pitch and hit for at least 5 years, maybe the day he starts, he doesn't hit, so once every 5 days he doesn't hit. So that means you won't have him in the lineup for, let's say, 30, 32 games a season. Out of the 162. I think he will still get a monster bag. Maybe he'll get like 450 or 480 opposed to 500 plus, but he's still going to get a huge deal. If I'm him, don't take a chance of like a 1 year deal. Get your bag now. You're 29. Don't take a chance. And Mike Trout, one day for being activated after being out since July 3rd with the broken herringbone, is right back on the IL. So the Angels season, if it wasn't over already, it's definitely over now. And the Mets are going to retire Doc Good and Darryl Strawberry's numbers next season. I'm very happy to major piece of our 1986 World Series team. The Chicago White Sox have cleaned house over the weekend. They fired their GM Rick Hahn. Not over the weekend. It happened a couple days ago. GM Rick Hahn and their president Ken Williams both been fired. I don't hate the move at all. I've been saying for a while Rick Hahn's got to go. He's not done a good job. I know he's all those trades to build up all these young pitching really hasn't worked. He's not done a good job there. White Sox need a major change. And a report came out the other day that the Mets were somewhat close to trading Pete Alonso to the Milwaukee Brewers. Probably a Brewers source leaked it. Hey, look, I don't mind that the Mets made him available. He's been on a surge since the All-Star break. He was struggling a little bit. From right after he came back from his injury in, I think, the mid to late June up until the trade deadline. He wasn't having, up until, let's say, the All-Star break, he was hitting like 210 at one point, or 212. Wasn't having his best season. Then, before the injury, he was having a monster year as per usual. And early since the All-Star break, he's picked up right where he left off before the injury. He's gotten healthy and he's having overall, I think he's had a great year. Something's a little funny that the Brewers, well, their former president of baseball operations, now an advisor for the team who's expected to lead the Brewers, probably going to the Mets as the president of baseball operations, David Stearns. Like, I don't know if maybe the Brewers want to keep him or something, or they don't want to go to the Mets for some reason. So maybe they leaked it. So maybe if maybe it wasn't true. So now Cohen goes, wait, what the heck? He calls Billy Upper like, did you have these talks? Upper was like, what? No, I would have told you about that. Now maybe he goes uneasy about stealing away Stearns from the Brewers. So I don't know, but it's a little funny that a Brewers source leaked this just out of the blue. 3 weeks after the trade deadline passes. Look, he was not untouchable. They said they were willing to listen to offers. I'm not even against it. The Mets were at a point where they were, although I do think the notion they're not going to compete in 2024 is ridiculous and insane. I think they will look to compete in 2024, and I absolutely think it's possible for them to be in the playoffs next year. So, the fact that, Alonso, who only has one more year of arbitration left, and he's a free agent after next year, that he was, not saying, they were looking to trade him, but not untouchable, the line was open, they would just need a big offer. Don't have a problem with that at all. None whatsoever. And if this was true, if someone from the Mets came out and said that it was Cohen or Epler or someone from a Mets source, okay. The fact that a Brewer source 3 weeks after the trade deadline came out and said that they were within, quote, field goal range of a trade. Jackson Shorey, or whatever his name is, one of their top prospects who's in Double-A. He's on fire right now. I'm hearing he might get called up in September. Will probably be a major factor on the team next year at some point. Was involved in the trade, and apparently the article written by Ken Rosenthal, who I definitely trust. He has as many sources as you could possibly get. Very acclaimed MLB journalist, very, very big. Said they were, in field goal range. So they were at least somewhat close to a trade. It's coming out 3 weeks after the deadline. A Brewer source leaked it with, David Stearns possibly leaving the team to join the Mets as the president of baseball operations next year. A little funny. So, I'm hoping to God that they extend Alonso. People said this and that about the guy. He plays every day. But the whole thing that he's a clubhouse, toxic clubhouse guy, I think is ridiculous. If he is, he needs to be in Go Hollywood because he's a great actor. To me seems like a great guy. He does a lot of community service. He's a phenomenal player. He's got 39 home runs and 95 RBIs. He's averaged a little bit down to something like 230 or so. But his OPS is fine. His OPS is 830, 840, which is fine. His slugging, I think, is even higher than it was last year. Last year, he had 40 home runs and 130 RBI. He's at 39.95, and he's got another, 5 or 6 weeks to go? The guys, he won't get to 130 RBI, but he's going to have possibly 110 ribbies. He'll easily have 40-plus home runs, maybe even 50. He's not that much worse than he was last year. Maybe he was a little bit last year, but he had 270, 40, and 130. With a 520 OPS, or a 520 slugging and an OPS of 870. That's hard to replicate every single year. So the 220, 230 average isn't great, but the 520 slugging and the 830 OPS and the 39 and homers, 95 ribbies, we're not even in September yet, is par for the course for one of the league's best players. So I hope the Mets give him a bag this offseason and do not trade him. And again, this whole report is a little funky to me. On to hockey. The Maple Leafs extended one of the league's best players, Austin Matthews, on a 4-year deal worth $53 million, arguably one of the league's best goal scorers. Not arguably, he is one of the league's best goal scorers. $13.25 million a year, highest paid player in the NHL. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the season. We've been talking, extension all offseason. It's been a topic of discussion all offseason, and he got it done. And the Rangers extend Alexis Lafreniere on a 2-year deal worth $4.6 million. He's, to me, been disappointment as being a number 1 pick a couple of years ago, but he's got one last chance on this bridge deal. The Los Angeles Lakers are going to unveil a Kobe Bryant statue on February 8th. Very, very happy about that. His 41st birthday was yesterday. Shame he's not with us anymore, but kudos to the Lakers for doing that. He's obviously one of the all-time greats. GJ Ugalele has been named a starting quarterback at Oregon State. He was at Clemson the last 2 years. He was replaced by Kate Klubnik down the stretch last year. He transferred to Oregon State. He's going to start for them this year. On to the NFL, you already talked to everything about the NFL. We got a couple of wrestling updates before we close up the show. Terry Funk passed away at the age of 79, Hall of Famer, so rest in peace to him. And by the way, MJF was started at Maxwell Jacob Freeman. They started at AEW. He was on a podcast, and he made some interesting comments. There's some sort of not stereotype, but there's a thing out there where WWE fans and AEW fans kind of clash. One person thinks their promotion is better than the other. MJF says, among the wrestlers, that's not the case. Wrestling is as good as it's been in a while. I mean, he said, AEW, their next event, I don't really follow AEW too much. I don't really have a problem with it. I don't know how it's run in some parts, but I don't have a problem with it. I think the wrestlers there are talented. I mean, there's a bunch of guys who used to be in WWE that I really, really liked, such as Jon Moxley. I'm a big fan of him. They're about to have the biggest event in the history of the sport. Chris Jericho came out and said he thinks All In is bigger than WrestleMania. I'm not sure if that's true, but I don't think I think it's at least close. I don't get, and that's actually a good point. Why are people shouldn't be mad that AEW is thriving or WWE is thriving? They should be happy that both brands are doing really well, and they are. So that was a very good point that MJF made, and if you listen, there haven't been a couple times AEW may have taken a shot to a WWE in the very beginning, but kind of understood it because Vince was still there. Now Vince is gone. Ever since Vince left, there really hasn't been any. There haven't been any issues on our side. So that was cool that he said that. That's really all I got for you guys today. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. No show tomorrow because I'm going back up to school tomorrow. The plan right now is to go live on the Twitter Spaces, probably Mondays at 2:00, and then I'm going to announce the rest of my schedule on Monday. But thank you to everyone who tuned in. Until next time, so long. Have a great day.